Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Autism Awareness channel, and today we're going to be talking about an informational video, and specifically that video is going to be about people with autism that have a distinct facial structure. So there are ways to detect autism based on the face, which I think is really interesting. There's not a lot of people who know about this, so I think this is a very important article to get into. But anyways, be sure to like, subscribe, and also turn on notifications, because my uploads are very inconsistent. I'm a busy man with school, and but yeah, let's get into this article. This was posted by SpectrumNews.org. It's another news site for autism, and it says, and this is 9 years ago, by the way. Boys with autism have a distinct facial structure that differs from that of typically developing controls, according to a study published October 14th in Molecular Autism. Specifically, boys with autism have broader faces and mouths, flatter noses, narrow cheeks, and a shorter philtrum, the cleft between the lip and the nose, compared with controls, according to the three-dimensional facial imaging system used in this study. These distinctive figures suggest that certain embryonic processes that give rise to facial features are perturbed during development, researchers say. The participants in the study were all 8 to 12 years old, an age range during which the face is relatively mature, but not yet affected by the hormonal changes of puberty. The researchers used the imaging system dubbed 3D-MD to plot 17 landmarks or coordinates on the face of 64 boys with autism and 40 typical controls. So those are like 8 neurotypical people. They then measured the distance between several of these coordinates. Boys with autism who have the most distinctive facial features cluster into two groups with very different sets of autism symptoms, the researchers found. Boys in one group tend to have wide mouths, combined with a short distance between the top of the mouth and the bottom of the eyes. They also show severe symptoms of autism, including language impairment, intellectual disability, and seizures. By contrast, those in the second group have broad upper faces and a short philtrum. They are more likely to be diagnosed with Asperger's and to have fewer cognitive impairments and language disabilities compared with the first group. As a clinical geneticist, I've always been impressed by a certain facial phenotype in children with autism, says lead investigator Judith Miles. But it wasn't until she turned to 3D-MD, developed for use by plastic surgeons, that clear quantifiable differences emerged between boys with autism and controls, she says. Those differences almost certainly reflect underlying neurodevelopmental processes, she says. The reason to look at the face is because it reflects differences in the brain. And that's really interesting. I didn't think facial features had any effect on how the brain reacts, but it turns out there's quite a connection. So now this goes into the group effects. It's a study, so basically what they found in this study. Studies have found that children with autism are more likely than controls to have dysmorphology, or unusual physical features in the head and skull. Earlier this month, researchers at the University of South Alabama reported that among children referred for genetic testing for suspected autism, those who have a copy number variation, a deletion or duplication of a genetic region, are more likely to have unusual facial features than those who carry no CNVs, which I think makes sense because, like, if there's a disruption in the DNA, then facial features are very common, unusual facial features. There was a remarkable I can't pronounce that word. There was a remarkable heterogeneity in autism, and the use of dysmorphology phenotyping may help us come to grips with some of this complexity, says Curtis Disuch, associate professor of psychiatry at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, who is not involved with either new study. Studies of facial dysmorphology in autism have generally relied on observations or tools, such as calipers, to pinpoint specific facial features. 3D-MD instead uses multiple digital cameras to capture a 360-degree image of the head. Algorithms integrate the images to produce a single 3D image that is analyzed using special software. That's pretty cool. That must be pretty expensive to produce. But I think it does a much better job than normal cameras at detecting that stuff, it seems like. This generates results that are more fine-grained than manual measurements, said Christina Aldridge, assistant professor of pathology and anatomical sciences at the University of Missouri. We're not talking about kids you would pick out on the street as looking different. Okay, so this confirms what I had thought earlier. It's that they're not really, the facial features aren't really detected by the human eye. They have to use a very advanced machine to detect those things. Anyway, she said the subtle differences are systematic in the range of 2 to 5 millimeters. It is extraordinarily precise. Okay. Deutsch has used the same technology in his own research. Still, he cautions that the same sample size in the study may not be large enough to generate reliable results. It is also important to guard against performing a multitude of statistics tests without appropriate corrections, he adds. Otherwise, differences that are reported as significant can result from change alone. Researchers typically apply mathematical formulas to correct for chance associations. Miles instead used clutter analysis, which puts together similar entities from large datasets. This sort of analysis can produce results that are difficult to interpret, Miles says. It will always give you something, but we had to look at whether clinical differences correlated with the subgroups identified by the clutter analysis. Using autism diagnosis characteristics, intelligence quotients, so IQ test, medical symptoms, and other measures, she said, what we found is that those two subgroups really do appear to be discrete clinically. I'm not quite sure what that means, by the way. If anyone knows what that means, you can let me know in the comments. The findings resonate with researchers who have studied dysmorphology and autism using less sophisticated measures than 3D-MD. For example, a team at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas, reported at the 2011 International Meeting for Autism Research in San Diego that severe autism symptoms predict the presence of dysmorphic features, albeit those not discernible to the naked eye. The vast majority of cases in that study show very subtle facial differences, says Robin Kochel, assistant professor of the psychology at the Baylor College of Medicine. The results of the new study jibe with what she sees every day in the Autism Center at Texas Children's Hospital, Kochel says. Those who have more dysmorphology tend to have more problems and be more severely affected. Alrighty guys, that is it for the video. I learned some very interesting information there today. It's so cool how precise those machines can get. But if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because I'm unable to upload consistently. I'm obviously going to upload whenever I can. But be sure to comment down below what you want to see next, what you want to learn. And as I said, the link will be in the description. I'm sorry. The full link of the article will be in the comments. Alright. Have a good day, guys.